I'm Giant and I'm going to be upgrading underrated Disney characters to fit into more other forms of media. These shows and characters are good and beloved by Disney fans, them just being underrated and deserves to be known by more people. Me just saying how they can come back and how them coming back in another form of media can do them coming back in the main form of media. And since Disney has been doing a terrible job of adapting their characters into other forms of media lately, primarily with animated movies and live action movies, me saying how they can adapt them into those other specific forms of media too. Since Lightyear was such a terrible movie, they need to reboot the whole thing to make it more like Buzz Lightyear of Star Command. The reason how they explained the Lightyear movie existed was because it was a movie that Andy saw as a kid. Since the Lightyear movie didn't work out, you can just say that it was a scrapped idea for a movie which gave them the idea to completely change the storyline, and that the redone movie is a version that Andy saw. And for this version of it, you being able to do a whole series of movies out of it being similar to Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, with the Space Rangers working the same way and with Buzz having his team from that show. It would start out with Buzz already being a part of his team, but it turning out in the end them having different origins for being there. And because of this movie that made Andy want to get a Buzz Lightyear toy, it's also what started the cartoon show and why Andy started seeing the cartoon show in the Toy Story universe. Because this is a much better idea than just doing a bunch more Toy Story movies, especially since they're not being as good as the original ones. Plus, it would be awesome to see Buzz Lightyear's team and larger Space Rangers in 3D animation, especially if it's Lightyear's 3D animation. You can even start the movie with Andy seeing the movie as a kid. And to make sure this is before the rest of the time in the Toy Story movies, you could do a brief line from Andy's mom at me about his sister recently already being born. For Warp Dark Matter, he was a friend of Buzz, and they were also partners. Buzz thought Warp Dark Matter died, but it turns out he was really working for Zurg, the evil emperor and Buzz's arch nemesis. But then Warp Dark Matter became a good guy again and rejoined the Space Rangers. After Buzz saved his life again and got his youth back from a villain, and after Zurg treated him so terribly and did terrible things to him, you just need to make it that in the movie he betrayed Star Command for different reasons, and him helping Buzz in a different way after him becoming a good guy again in the movie. Like him helping Star Command outside of the Space Rangers. Them using his connections and him used to being a criminal to their advantage. Him helping Buzz and his team go undercover every once in a while, especially with criminal organizations. Him being Buzz's partner again when he can't get help from his team. And him becoming a part of Buzz's team on occasion. Warp Dark Matter could also help them in case them need to go to places that a Space Ranger can't go to, and him needing to do things that a Space Ranger can't do. Like going to one of the evil Emperor Zurg's empires or a place that he rules over, or doing something in secret in order to stop a supervillain or stop his plans, and not being able to tell people the truth about it until after they're done with it. Like them doing something to ruin the Space Ranger's legacy and it being something a Space Ranger can't be seen doing, because after they're done with it and after they stop the supervillain, they can show that they didn't do the bad thing and it was something completely different, and them just trying to trick the supervillain, and them just trying to stop the supervillain's evil plan. Buzz Lightyear of Star Command is everything Lightyear wishes it could be. It having interesting alien species and good alien worlds. And it did do some good things like showing just because you're the slave of an evil emperor doesn't mean you're evil. And they got away with the child seeing the corpse of her parents because her parents were robots. And Mira Nova is a princess of an alien species. She has a complicated relationship with her father, but them managing to make things up in the end. Her and her species could read minds and go through things. Buzz Lightyear's team calls this ghosting, along with her species. She hates to be called princess, and she's more likely not to follow Buzz's orders. She should be second in command after Buzz, and she should also be almost as good as Buzz. For the other villains of Buzz Lightyear Star Command, Well, you can start out with Zurg, the evil emperor, and Buzz's arch nemesis in the first movie. But in other movies, you would focus on other villains as the main villains. And then in the last movie, he would fight against Zurg and the other villains as the main villains. As for Gravitina, she's a supervillain who is in love with Buzz and has an unhealthy obsession with him. You can make it that she tries to turn Buzz into an exact copy of his species and tries to mind control him to get him to fall in love with her. While at the same time, her trying to use the gravity of a planet to increase her powers so she can use it to destroy a bunch of other planets by using their gravity. And her trying to steal everyone else's intelligence in the universe so she would be the smartest being in the multiverse. Bruiser is a half-man, half-dinosaur alien and a big fan of Buzz. He's more likely to follow his orders. XR is a wisecracking robot. And Commander Nebula is Buzz's commanding officer and in charge of the Space Rangers. He's a friend to Buzz, but he's not afraid to pull out rank on Buzz. And he does go on missions, but only when it's really important, and usually he stays at Star Command. And after Mira Nova's father found out that she was dating someone, she stopped her boyfriend from seeing him. He started doing jobs for supervillains, and he did a job for Jorg the Emperor. They managed to stop him in the end, and Mira Nova being okay with not dating him. But they are still being hope for their love, and me definitely not wanting her dating someone else. This would be especially good for Disney and Pixar in a movie because it shows not every boy and girl should fall in love with each other, and sometimes they should just be good friends, like Mira Nova and Buzz Lightyear. And it's not everyone's path to get married and have kids. Sometimes it's just good them just being friends as their happy ending. And to make Lightyear more original from Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, you would need to do Zurg being Buzz Lightyear's father like he was when he was originally introduced in the Toy Story movies. You would just need to make it that when Zurg was human or a human-like alien species, he was abandoned by a whole team of space rangers and then he died because of it, but because as of a supervillain who did illegal experiments on him, Zurg managed to survive by his brain being put into a robot. After him having his life saved by a supervillain and him seeing the necessariness of crime, and him seeing the evilness of the Space Rangers and him knowing how bad they are, Zurg became the biggest supervillain in the galaxy and also he became a crime lord. With him being a dictatorship over planets and him also trying to spread his evil reign over the universe. Then him revealing it to Buzz later in the movie and him being able to prove it. I mean, Zurg was inspired by Darth Vader from the Star Wars movies, and Buzz Lightyear of Star Command did do lots of references to Star Wars. That's partially why Buzz Lightyear of Star Command was so good, because of it being similar to Star Wars, and because of the Space Rangers looking similar to Jedi. Zurg would want his son to join him, but Buzz wouldn't join him because of him already having a family with his team. And that's why him going against Zurg, because the whole reason why he wanted to become a Space Ranger was to help people and to be a good person. And in the alternate universe, Buzz is evil and is Zurg. You can make it that in this movie Buzz became Zurg instead, or in the movie Buzz became Zurg after Zurg died and he found out that he was his Baba. That'd be great for the movie because of Zurg being Buzz's Baba in the main dimension. And you can even make it that in a supervillain way, Zurg going with the real Buzz because he doesn't want any other Buzz Lightyear, he wants his Buzz Lightyear to join specifically. In that same dimension, Mira Nova's Baba was killed by an evil Buzz Lightyear. And she wanted to kill the original universe's Buzz Lightyear because she thought he was him. But then Commander Nebula managed to save him. Because of it turning out in this universe, there still being Space Rangers and them still being the good guys they are. And in the main universe, Buzz Lightyear working together with them in order to stop his world Zurg and the evil Buzz Lightyear, who ended up in their dimension by accident and has captured Buzz's friends and is trying to kill them. But then after Buzz Lightyear saves them with the alternate universe Space Rangers, the Space Rangers from the other dimension and Buzz's team from the main dimension manage to bond with each other. Then also, because of the main universe, Buzz Lightyear and his team, they managed to stop the evil old version of Buzz and free their universe. Then they went back to their own dimension. And Norse 482 is a robot vampire who stole power from all the other robots in the sector and keeps trying to drain power from XR especially. He was being stopped by a little girl who cared about robots and was a good friend to robots because he drained the power away from her robot parents. Buzz wasn't sure about getting help from her, and she wasn't sure about getting help from Buzz, but they agreed to help each other to stop Norse 4A2. And she put an electric stick in his heart and managed to kill Norse 4A2. Then Buzz Lightyear took her robotic parents back to Star Command, and the aliens from Pizza Planet managed to get power back into them and bring them back to life. Then the little girl was reunited with her parents. So it would be good you using him for the Lightyear movie, especially since he was made by Zurg to haunt the Pacific Sector, and since he already came back in Buzz Lightyear of Star Command. Then also the little girl can come back to fight against him and to be the guy who specifically fights against him. Then it is good that little girl was reunited with her robot parents and that her robot parents were brought back to life. And you can also have some of the other characters from the Toy Story movies in the Lightyear movies to make it feel more connected to the Toy Story movies. Like you can make it that Trixie and Rex are from an alien planet with half men, half dinosaurs. And it being the same half men, half dinosaurs from a Toy Story that time forgot. You can also make it that Woody and the other toys have something to do with him. Are space cowboys who have a playful rivalry with Buzz Lightyear's team because of them both being so good at stopping bad guys. With them joining in on the Space Rangers fight against Zurg and them helping them win a war against Zurg. And with you treating it like an 80s cartoon, and you playing off of that nostalgia but in a good way by honoring it, with it especially being similar to He-Man and Thundercats. And you can also make it the half-man, half-dinosaur alien species were freed from their old ways by the Space Rangers, and that the leader actually became a better leader in the end. And it would be awesome to see these half-man, half-dinosaur aliens in 3D, especially if it's Lightyear's 3D. Then for Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, which is another good show from the Disney Afternoon shows, and another a good part of Disney that was ruined with a terrible movie, and deserves to get another movie just to redeem itself, especially in the eyes of the Disney Afternoon fans. Chip and Dale are already some of Disney's most iconic cartoon characters, along with Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and Goofy. And Jasmine, Zipper, and Monorail Jack don't appear in a lot of forms of media outside of Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. So not only did they ruin some of Disney's most iconic cartoon characters, they also ruined some of the only other forms of media that the other guys appear in. And you can even do a whole series of movies out of it. All you have to do to make Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers the movie not canon is to just say someone is doing a meeting with the Rescue Rangers because he wanted to do a movie about them, and that was the movie the Rescue Rangers said no to, because it was so bad. And you can even make it that it was done by those evil corporation guys who doesn't understand good forms of media. In the actual movie, you would do the actual Rescue Rangers, with them doing their usual things in the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers show. And nothing from the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers live action movie being in this one. As in you making it that the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie didn't happen, it not being canon in any form of media, and you retconning it completely out of history. In this movie, they go up against Professor Nimroid and try to stop his evil plans, with him experimenting on animals and him doing things from a scene that would help him take over the world. But the Rescue Rangers would stop him, and it would turn out another one of their villains was behind it. Then how it would start out is some people going to their place with some cases. You can still make it that they live in a cartoon world in real life, but with Disney cartoons specifically, since this isn't Roger Rabbit, Disney has more cartoons since then. It would help make it more original by it taking on its own identity and it being its own thing. And Roger Rabbit was created by Disney and Warner Brothers, so if anyone's going to use him, it should be both Disney and Warner Brothers. Then it would turn out that Fat Cat was behind the evil plans of the movie, because of him trying to improve his rackets and other supervillain things against the other Disney villains, and with him trying to take over the whole Disney company that they all come from. Because of them going to be actual private eyes in the movie, and the only difference is not just animals go to them, and that also the other Disney cartoon characters go to them with cases to stop. And with them actually doing everything we saw in the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers cartoon show, and you just making it that someone made a show about them, and with us just being able to see in their world at the time, because in this world that's how cartoons work. And this is how they managed to do shows and Disney movies on these cartoon characters by looking into their world. This way, instead of casting in on our nostalgia, it makes it make more sense. And it makes it make more sense of how all these Disney cartoon characters from the cartoon shows and movies manage to fit into the same world together. And you'll be doing even more good things for the fans after you acknowledging that the Disney theory that we all had as a kid is true about all of them living in the same world together. And for what you do, the sequel of this version of the movie is the Disney princesses and princes coming to them with a case for them to solve. Then it would turn out that the villains from the Disney movies would be behind it. From the movies that did have Disney's princesses and princes in it. Then Chip and Dale would help the Disney princesses and princes fight against their movie villains. This way you would be able to do some better Disney cameos from Disney cartoon shows and movies, and you would also be able to do Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet better than Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet. Plus, this would make it feel more a part of Disney, and you take advantage of it, and you also take advantage of it being at Disney. Plus, you being able to make it obvious that it's a Disney Pacific movie, not a crossover movie from anything outside of Disney. Then for the last movie, you would do them coming into contact with it by accident and accidentally finding out about the Disney Afternoon villains doing something in their supervillain plans, and then them needing to stop it. With the other Disney Afternoon heroes, to honor the whole Disney Afternoon thing and to honor the place where Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers the cartoon show came from, Disney Afternoon. If you're doing this to the movie, you'll be able to get rid of the terrible legacy and everything terrible that the original movie did, and you're also being able to get something good out of it so it's not a total waste. Then for the Gargoyles, they should get Greg Weisman, the creator of Gargoyles the show, come back to bring back Gargoyles and to do the 4th season of it. Because Gargoyles is one of Disney's most underrated and darkest shows. In its first 2 seasons because of Greg Weisman, but then they kind of ruined it for him in the 3rd season, and he didn't have as much control over it as he did before. And because of that season not really being any good, and because of it not being what Greg Weisman wanted to do the show, Greg Weisman doesn't really consider the 3rd season canon, and neither does the fans. Greg Weisman created the show, so he should get full control over it, and it's only fair him deciding if it's canon or not. Greg Weisman has said online on social media that he is okay with doing the 4th season of Gargoyles if it ever comes back. If Disney would let him do the 4th season of Gargoyles for him to bring it back. And they should let Greg Weisman bring back Gargoyles for the 4th season. And this is what I would want them to do in Gargoyles 4th season when Greg Weisman brings it back. It would take place a few years into the future of the original 2 seasons of Gargoyles, with Eliza, Marja, and Goliath being together. And if you do need to give them further hurdles in the relationship, you should give them the same hurdles in the relationship from the Gargoyle comics. David Xanatos' son would be a kid now, like 10 years old or something. The Gargoyle's castle still have been put back in its home at an old part of Scotland. And with Demona and the Gargoyles being on slightly better terms, but still having an uneasy relationship with each other. Then Demona would make Cold Steel, Cold Fire, and Cold Stone completely gargle again, and make it that they don't need their robot parts anymore. By using the ancient spell books left over from Archmage and other sorcerers left behind all over the world when they died so other people wouldn't get their powers. You would have found out about this from Archmage since he did find out magic from him back in ancient Scotland, and other magical artifacts from the gods of Avalon, which he would also find out about through research from stolen Xanatos technology, which he would also use at their headquarters and for weapons and for how he would get around the world. And because of her traveling around the world and her taking so long to do it, that's why she didn't do it before, and that's why we haven't seen her for a while. Then she would use the magic that she gathered to bring back all the gargoyles that died back to life. She already knew how to bring back Cold Stone back from the dead by bringing back his soul and giving him robot parts for the parts that were busted. The whole reason why Demona hates humans so much is because they treated her kind, the gargoyles, so badly. And she does feel bad that her species went to almost extinction. And they did manage to bring back Cold Fire and Cold Steel souls for the robot bodies. So because she cared about them and because of her used to being a part of the Manhattan Clan, and after her finding out that all three of them were brought back to life, she would test out this magic to make them completely gargoyle again. So she would be able to completely fix every other gargoyle that died in their stone form and bring them back to life at night when they come alive again. Then she would also use the magic she has gathered to remove the curse on the gargoyles so they are alive all the time, not just at night, and that they don't turn to stone anymore. Goliath and the other gargoyles of the Manhattan Clan would use Eliza Marja being a cop and Xanatos having a company to find Demona, because the gargoyles would think it's a good thing that their species isn't almost extinct anymore. And because of Goliath used to date a Demona, and because of her being the mother of his child who is a teenager now, and because of things getting better between them and Demona since the last time they saw her, and because of Demona being a gargoyle, so this would be perfect for her to do, they would know she's the one who did this. Demona would make them think that it's her trying to turn over a new leaf and that she's doing it for gargoyle kind. Because even though she's always hated humans, she has never hated gargoyles. And she would use them knowing the fact of her caring about her own species is to help convince them. Then Demona would try to do a spell to turn everyone in the world into a gargoyle. Because of Fox Xanatos and David Xanatos being there when she cast a spell, and because of Fox and his son having powers which they inherited from Oberon, and there's something going wrong with their son using his powers at the same time, while also it having something to do with him having DNA from both his mother and his Baba, Fox and David Xanatos. It would do a chain reaction, making Xanatos and his family immortal. That is why Xanatos brought the gargoyles to New York, which started the whole show in the first place. So he can become immortal, and it is good the same thing happening for him and his son. Then because of Demona using so many magical spells and artifacts from Avalon, Lord Oberon would go there personally with the rest of the gods from there to try to defeat her, and they would think that it's all of the gargoyles who are involved with it because of this being good for all of the gargoyles. He would get angry that they've been using the power of the gods of Avalon, and it being for things like turning all the humans in the world into gargoyles. So then he would try to kill the gargoyles and Demona for doing it. Demona would help the other gargoyles fight against Lord Oberon, and Demona would even save Eliza Margia's life in a fight with Lord Oberon, because she knows she can't defeat Lord Oberon on her own. And while she doesn't think Eliza would be much use to her, she would think that Eliza Magia would be good for a spell that needs the blood of a human that can defeat gods. And her being a little insurance in case the gargoyles try to imprison her again. But then Puck would save David Xantos and Fox's son. And Lord Oberon would understand him causing too much damage because of him almost killing his great-grandson. And that he broke his own rules and became the very thing he hated. And they would stop Demonia from turning everyone in the world into gargoyles. And because some of the gods of Avalon were the gargoyles' friends, and because, as Lord Oberon is Fox's grandfather, the gargoyles will not do the spell that will take out a god, also because they also need the blood of a human to work, and they know that Demonia will use it to kill Eliza Magia. This would fully establish that Puck is loyal to the Xanatos family too, and that Puck still cares about the Xanatos family. And because of it, Lord Oberon would let him go back to Avalon. And not only would Puck go back to Avalon, him staying with the Xanatos every time he turns back into Owen Bernelli. Then you would do everyone finding out about gargoyles. They wouldn't accept them at first, but then they would be okay with the gargoyles. Then, if you should do any Disney show or movie into a live-action movie, it should be Gargoyles. Because they've already been saying that they'll do a Gargoyles live-action movie for a while now, and the fans have been really wanting them to do a Gargoyles live-action movie. And because of Gargoyles already being dark and serious, it would work much better in the live-action movie form than the other Disney live-action movies. Plus, the gargoyles would look great in live action with good special effects and makeup effects, unlike Stitch, who only works for cartoons like a bunch of the other Disney live action movies. Plus, the Disney live action movies are also bad because it just following exactly the same plot line from the original movies, or doing a terrible version of them. You don't have to worry about that with the gargoyles because of it being based on a TV show, and with there being so much you can do with the plotline itself. And you just have to make it that in this movie, David Xanatos' son is a teenager. Then you would do in this movie that Demonia becomes part of the Wyvern clan again. And what would happen in this Gargoyles of Action movie is that the Wyvern clan would help the gargoyles from all over the world adjust to modern life and help them dealing with being brought back to life. Then you would also make it that in this Gargoyles of Action movie, Demonia becomes a part of the Wyvern clan again. Then, the way this Gargoyles of Action movie would end is with Goliath and Eliza Magia ending up together and getting their happy ending in the end. Then for Darkwing Duck, fans have been wanting a Darkwing Duck movie for quite some time now. And Darkwing Duck is another one of Disney's most underrated and darkest shows. And because of him being so similar to Batman in the Shadow, and because of those guys having great movies, it would be great him having his own movie. But you definitely should not make it a live action movie. We don't need another Howard the Duck movie. You should do it as a completely animated movie with it taking place in St. Bernard, Darkwing Duck City, and it completely taking place in Darkwing Duck's world. In the first movie, you would do Darkwing Duck's origin story of him becoming Darkwing Duck, him adopting Gosselin, and him stopping the Tuskanator. In the second movie, he would fight against Steelbeak and Fowl. Steelbeak is a supervillain that works for the evil government Fowl. In the third movie, he would fight against Negadoc. In the fourth movie, he would introduce his love interest. Then in the fourth movie, he would fight against the Fearsome Five. And in the last movie, he would create the Justice Ducks to help him defeat the Fearsome Five. Then, for all the other underrated Disney characters, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit was actually Disney's first mascot, even before Mickey Mouse. It was only after they created Mickey and he became so iconic is when he replaced Oswald the Lucky Rabbit and became Disney's new mascot. You still should do things with Oswald the Lucky Rabbit because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have gotten Mickey and we wouldn't have gotten Disney and all the other good things from it. And all the other good things Disney did. You could just do him showing up at places with Mickey, and you still have Oswald the Lucky Rabbit with his girlfriend. An Epic Mickey is one of Disney's best games and one of Disney's most iconic games. And the main point of that game was having Mickey Mouse and Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. And you could start doing Squatch and Stretch cartoons with him again. Disney even did a Squatch and Stretch short cartoon with him to celebrate their 100th anniversary. Since if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have Minnie Mouse, Mickey Mouse's girlfriend. And because it's good us seeing the other family members of the original Disney cartoon characters, it would be good you putting them into more other forms of media and you doing something with them. I mean, everyone loves Scrooge McDuck, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and the Scientist Duck, and could you imagine if we didn't get Daisy Duck? Or Minnie Mouse, and we do love the relationship between Daisy Duck and Donald Duck, and Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse. And if you use their other family members, you can flesh out these characters even more too. You could have Scrooge McDuck's The Masked Mouth-led superhero identity appear more often working together with Darkwing Duck. And it would be awesome you doing Scrooge's girlfriend, Glittering Goldie, being adapted into more forms of media. She is a big part of why Scrooge McDuck is so good, and it also fleshes out Scrooge McDuck more. You should do them officially getting back together in the modern time in another form of media, and them officially getting back together in the end. Scrooge does deserve to get his happy ending, and if both Donald Duck and Donald Duck manage to find love, then so should Scrooge McDuck. Plus, they are perfect for each other because of them loving adventures and them both being filthy stinking rich. And they do already know each other and she is okay with Scrooge's family. Then for Gladstone Gander, and he has a good thing going with him trying to steal Daisy from Donald Duck. And he is different from Donald Duck because of him not being as angry as Donald Duck. And you could make it that he fixes things up with Donald and gets together with another girl. Then for Della Duck, she is Huey, Louie, and Dewey's mother, and Donald Duck's sister. So it's only fair she gets adapted into more other forms of media with them. Plus, people really liked it in the DuckTales reboot, and we also saw that she had a good relationship with her family members in the DuckTales reboot. So think what other good relationships she would have with the other Disney characters. And with the other original Disney cartoon characters. Like, see what kind of relationship and dynamic she has with Mickey Mouse and Goofy, Donald Duck's friends. Or with the family members of the other original Disney cartoon characters. Like Pluto, Mickey's dog, or Maxie, Goofy's son. It'd also be good to see her relationship with her other brother, Glady Gander, and her hanging out with the other original Disney cartoon characters' girlfriends, like Daisy and Minnie Mouse. Plus, if we're going to be seeing the Masked Mouth team up with Darkwing Duck, she would be a good character to interact with Darkwing Duck and to cross over with him, and to be the member of Scrooge's family we see with him. And we did already see that DuckTales and Scrooge McDuck's family is great at crossing over with Darkwing Duck. So it would be nice seeing the other members of Scrooge McDuck's family cross over with Darkwing Duck like Donald Duck and Della Duck. You can even have Glady Gander in there. And you can even make it that they actually were a big fan of the Masked Mallard as a kid because of them knowing that it was their Uncle Scrooge. And that's why them wanting to help both Darkwing Duck and the Masked Mallard so much. Which leads up to them helping the Masked Mallard and Darkwing Duck stop their supervillains. You can even put this in the Darkwing Duck movie series to show how different it is from the Darkwing Duck cartoon show and from the DuckTales reboot. Which would really make it feel like its own story, but it being aware of the original Darkwing Duck show. So it having its own identity, but it not being a bad thing, it being called similar to the Darkwing Duck cartoon show. And at the end of the movie series, them fighting against Negadoc, since he is Darkwing Duck's arch nemesis. Then for Maxie, one of the good things about him is that he's one of the only Disney characters that aged in real time. So it would be good you acknowledging this in another form of media and Disney, and you even doing a whole animated movie about it. It would be nice seeing him together with Huey, Dewey, and Louie, along with Pete's kids, because it would be nice to explain the similarities and differences they have between each other, with all of them being the family member of some of Disney's most iconic original cartoon characters, and that Huey, Dewey, and Louie don't age in real time, but Maxie does age in real time. Then for Bradford Buzzer, he did show that he was a good villain in the DuckTales reboot, and it is good that he created Fowl, an evil corporation of the Disney afternoon villains trying to take over the world. And you could make it that he's Magica Espel's brother, and that after secured of being an actual vulture, she decided to turn him back into an actual vulture. You can do him being a villain of Darkwing Duck or Scrooge McDuck, because of him having history with both of them. Then for Mortimer Mouse, he was introduced to be Mickey's rival, so you really should do that with him. He has a good thing going, always trying to steal Minnie Mouse from Mickey Mouse. It would be nice Mickey Mouse having some other villains other than Pete. And also, there's not a lot of Disney villains for Mickey Mouse and the other Scratch and Stretch cartoon characters of Disney in general. So Mortimer Mouse could fit that bill pretty well, actually. Especially since he's one of the original ones. Then for the ghosts of Disney's Haunted Mansion, we did see them in a few cartoon appearances, so you should use that to adapt them into even more forms of media. They're already pretty well liked by the fans and pretty well known by the fans because of them appearing in Disney's Haunted Mansion ride. And Disney is already making an animated movie based on the Haunted Mansion ride. And the ghosts do have good personalities that are different from each other, and it's good if you want some horror in your Disney movies.